So agriculture production economics is visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So okay, one more join now. So in production economics, what we are trying to learn is the relationship between inputs and outputs. Generally, we also study relationship between input and input, output and output. Okay, why? See, production means what? Production means a process where inputs are converted into output. Okay, and production function means it is mathematical representation of that technical relationship. Okay, so basically in this agriculture production function, you will be understanding only this thing, that how does it work. If you put certain inputs, you'll get outputs, but how it is working, that is what we are learning in agriculture production economics. Then what we learn in farm management is application of these production principles and other agriculture economics principles at the farm level. Okay, so farm management is an applied science. Okay, so you can say that this is a theory and this is practical applicability. That is why we always read it together. Even if you see the many exam syllabus, they come together. Okay. So the definition is there. Agriculture production is applied science, the principle of economics applied to farming industry. Okay. This agriculture economics is macroeconomic at the level. Farm management is microeconomic at the level. Okay, means there each farm is an unit in farm management, but here we take the like nation as a whole. Fine. So subject matter is there. There are three subject matter: product, factor, factor, product. Okay, I mean product, factor, and factor, product. These three relationship are the main subject matter. It is here. Here you have to go through these different concepts, and here there are certain concepts which are very important. So I will mark it. You have to go through it. Okay. One of the most important is this one. This one, optimum holding. Why? They will ask this particular point. 3 times family holding is optimum holding. This first question. Second is a word called reasonable standard of living. That is called economic holding. That is important. Okay. Then you have marginal farmer, small farmer. Everyone knows that marginal farmer means less than 1 hectare. Small farmer is less than 2 hectares. But one we should remember that this is dry land classification. If you have wetland classification, it is 50% of this. If it is 1 hectare, it is 0.5 hectare. If it's 2 hectare, then it is 1 hectare. Why? Because wetlands are more remunerative, or you can say they are more productive. Okay, so basically all will be knowing this part, but if you want to go through, you have to remember this part also. Fine. Second thing is, okay, production function. Continuous production function means you can have its derivation continuously, or the other simple way of understanding is that you can add inputs at any level. Okay? You can add inputs at any level. You can add 0.1, you can add 0.5, you can add 1 to anything. But discontinuous means you have to use only like 1, 2, 3. Okay, that like whole numbers. Short run production function means any one of the production factors should be fixed. Others should be variable. This line you are able to see. This line. This line means that all these are variable and these are fixed. Okay. That's the line. So if any one variable is even if it is fixed, then that is short run. In long run, all the resources, okay. So here you don't see that vertical line. Fine. Next we have technical coefficient. Amount of input per output is called technical coefficient. Technical unit, you have to remember that for this unit you are able to calculate output and returns. Group of technical units is called plant. Farm firm is an economic unit. This is an MCQ. This is not a technical unit. It is an economical unit. Economical unit means for this you can calculate cost and returns. Technical unit you cannot calculate cost and returns, but you can see that this is a technical coefficient. Here you see input per output. So production functions when you read. You read about technical relationship. Any function which you are using, you assume that they are technically efficient or technically optimum relation. That is one of the assumption of production function. We don't know whether it will be economic or not. Okay. But we know that certainly it should be technically efficient. Fine. Then we have resource and resource service. When resource is not itself consumed, only its service is consumed, then we call it as resource service. So what point you have to see is that it is not physically entering or it is not itself consumed. If these two types of words are given, then they are referring to resource services. Okay. Fixed and this one I told. Flow and stock, this all we have discussed. So stock means you can store it. Flow means you cannot store it. Now tell me one thing. Yesterday I have discussed this. Among these two, labor and laborer, which one is the flow and which one is the stock?
Labor is flow resource and laborer is a stock resources.
Very good, very good. Okay. Labor is a flow resource because labor is perishable. You cannot store it. Fine, good. Monoperiod, polyperiod, you can understand that. Okay. Or if it can be used only once, it is monoperiod. If it can use again and again, polyperiod. So this recording is polyperiod resource. You can read it again and again. Okay. Had it been a only live discussion, then you can monoperiod resource. Choice indicator is a yardstick. It helps you to decide that which of the choices are efficient. Farm entrepreneur, the one who organizes and operates, and he will choose one person to manage the business. He is known as farm manager. Productivity is what is called efficiency. Now we have to come to the important point, that is these two things. Economic efficiency and allocative efficiency. In morning class, there was another name for allocative efficiency. What is that? Morning in marketing, we read two types of efficiencies. One we are referring to as technical efficiency or economic efficiency. There was another efficiency. Yeah, which one?
Pricing.
Yes, pricing efficiency. Okay. The another name of pricing efficiency was allocative efficiency. Fine. So what is technical or economic efficiency? Output by input into 100. This is technical efficiency. And if it is expressed in terms of rupees, it is economic efficiency. And what is allocative efficiency? If you allocate the resources in other form, no one should be better off without making other one worse off. If this is the condition, then we say that the allocation is efficient. This was used in marketing as pricing efficiency because there also it is said that if there is any product which is sold at say Bangalore and which is sold at other place, say Tirupati, okay, then the difference in the price between these two should be only of transportation cost. If this is happening, then we say that the marketing has pricing efficiency. And the same thing you see here, allocative efficiency. If their products are properly allocated between Bangalore and Tirupati in such a way that the price is only less or equal to its transportation cost, then we say that it is efficiently allocated. Okay. Along here, I will try to introduce you to one word called Pareto optimality or Pareto efficiency. What does this mean? It means that if there is any change, this is a symbol of change. Okay. If there is any change which makes at least one person better off, okay, without making anyone worse off, means one is better off and zero is worse off, then such a change is called Pareto efficient change. Understood, or shall I explain once again? Pareto efficiency means any change that makes at least one person better off without making anyone worse off, then such a change is termed as Pareto efficient change. Understood? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What is the difference between allocative efficiency and Pareto efficiency?
Allocative efficiency and price efficiency.
No, sir. Pareto efficiency.
Okay, allocative efficiency and Pareto efficiency. Pareto efficiency is based on the principle of, allocative efficiency is based on principle of Pareto optimality. Okay. It is based on that principle only. That principle, it is used for allocation purpose. The Pareto optimality can be used for production, can be used for exchange, can be used for consumption. Among these three, this here we are using for allocation. Allocation efficiency is being used. Pareto optimality is just a principle. It's a principle that any change which makes one person better off without making anyone worse off is the Pareto efficient. If this is used in allocative purpose, you tell allocative efficiency. You don't compare those two, okay? They are uncomparables. Means it is just like what I say, mind and brain, okay? Mind is Pareto efficient principle. Brain is allocative efficiency. Now you don't know the mind, okay? Mind is already there in brain. So if you see the definition, it is already there, a part of like no one can be better off without making someone worse off. It is just application of Pareto optimality principle. Okay. This
Sir,
is important. Yes.
Sir, is allocative efficiency only related to transport, or like we can say, like suppose in a particular area there are two shops and one shopkeeper is charging 10 rupees for a certain product and the other shopkeeper is charging suppose 12 rupees. Then can we say that the allocative efficiency is less?
See, now
or
you have
is it
to see,
related?
Yeah. I understood your question. Now you
Yes,
have to
sir.
see why there is 2 rupees difference. Whether because he has stored some product, or whether he has changed the form of the product, or whether there is any transportation cost. If nothing, these three are there, then it is allocative inefficiency.
Okay, sir. Got it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So cost of cultivation, cost of production. Cost of cultivation and cost of production, only one difference is unit of expression. Cost of cultivation is expressed as rupees per hectare. Cost of production is expressed as rupees per ton. This was asked in ARS exam as prelims, and this was also asked for my qualifying exam. Okay, such a basic difference, only unit is difference. Okay, but if you don't know this difference, then you will get confused between these two. An independent variable is the variable which will take a different values. Constant is something, okay, that you will use. Slope definition is important. It represents the rate of change in one variable that occurs when another variable changes. This is called as slope. Okay. Whenever you see the rate of change, the answer will be slope. Okay, these things you can go through. Features of agriculture production or industrial production. We have read this already. We have read the modern technology and traditional production technology. The same thing: seasonal, irregular supply, perishability, joint products, bulkiness of agriculture products, Okay, time lag, standardization, large proportion, law of diminishing returns. This is important. Law of diminishing returns is applicable in agriculture. In industry, this law can be postponed for some time, okay? But it is always applicable in agriculture sector. Nature of demand. Farm products being necessary, the demand is relatively inelastic. Understood? These 2 points are important. Rest all you know very well. The farm business takes larger time to return investment. It implies that rate of turnover is slow in agriculture. Similarly, producers sharing consumer rupees less in agriculture. Okay, why? Because we have so many middlemen. Now tell me, yesterday I told you that whether the advertisement, okay, whether this advertisement makes elasticity of demand more elastic or less elastic.
Less elastic.
Less elastic.
Very good. It makes less elastic. Good. Loss of returns. Now there are 3 laws of returns: increasing returns, decreasing returns, and constant returns. Okay. There is nothing to fall in love with this concept. Just you have to remember 3 graphs. Which is those graphs? This one, constant returns and decreasing returns. And if you understand what are these 3 graphs and how these occur, that is sufficient. I will draw you and I'll explain you. Okay. If you see these 3, this is first one. We have to nullify it. What is that? What may be this graph?
Constant return.
Constant.
Returns.
So as I said, first we will remove the easiest one. Now there are 2. Okay, we know that here it is output and here it is input. Output and input. Now there is one, this one like, okay, we are having one shape, like I'll change color and show this one. And another we have like this one. Okay. Okay. Now, I think my pen is not working. Okay. See this one. If you understand one return, whenever we see there are 3 places: factor, product, and product. Okay. And we have returns to scale also. In all these things, only one thing will be confusing, that will be shape of graph. If the shape of graph is confusing, remember one thing. Such things like constant returns, perfect substitutes, perfect complements. First you see these graphs and you make it separate. Now remaining is only increasing returns and decreasing returns. In that you remember only one of them, other will be opposite of it. Okay. Now if you see, where is loss of returns? Okay, down. Now if you see this one, output is here, input is here. Okay. Lesser input is increasing. If you see, less input is increasing, but more output is increasing. Here, if you see, less input is there, more output is there. Okay. Only this much of input, but this much of output. This means what? The ratio of input, okay, the ratio of output to input is increasing as we are increasing x1. It means delta y1 by delta x1 is smaller than delta y2 by delta x2. You understood this?
Yes, sir.
And you understood why this one came? If you understand this, you need not to read decreasing returns. You need not to read this function for decreasing returns. One you remember. Now this is technical. Another thing you have to, if you want to have some clue or something, means, see, you think that output is pulling it this side. Mere paas aao, mere paas aao. So when the curve is moving towards output, it means it is having increasing returns. If curve is moving towards input, then it is decreasing returns. And if curve is not at all, it's neutral, stuck to lambda, then it is constant return. If it is moving towards, bending towards input, it is decreasing returns. It is moving towards output, it is increasing returns. and if it is insensitive, it is constant returns. Okay. But I will tell you technically also, that also I will explain. Both you should remember, because in exam, sometimes we overthink. That time clue will help you to understand. Okay. Now here you see, you do the same diagram. Out here, output is this much, input is this much. But here you see, output is this much, input is little large. Means what? To increase same amount of output, we have to put more and more input. This means that the change in y1 by change in x1 has now become larger than change in y2 by change in x2. Okay, this is what we call decreasing returns. If it is moving towards input, ये आउटपुट की तरफ नहीं जा रहा है, ये इनपुट की तरफ जा रहा है. It is moving towards input. You see, it's facing input. Or else you understand this relationship. If you understand this relationship, you can remember this function also. You can remember this graph also. Now, we have factor-factor relationship. We have product-product relationship. There again, we have increasing returns, decreasing returns, and constant returns. What you should do is, you know that normally shape of isoquant is like this. And normally shape of PPC is like this. And we had an assumption that in factor-factor relationship, the MRTS between two factors is always negative. Means it is decreasing returns. So if they ask, draw the graph of decreasing returns in a factor-factor, it is this one. Okay. So if you want to write increasing return, then it will be like this. In product, if they ask, draw for increasing returns, this is for increasing returns. Because we assume that in product-product relationship, always we have increasing rate of substitution between the products. That is, MRPT is always positive in product-product relationship. If we want to have decreasing returns here, then we will be having like this. So the main conclusion is, see, decreasing returns have same graph in both the sides. But increasing return is different. That is why they will not ask you exam this, they will ask exam increasing return. Specifically, they will ask increasing returns in factor-factor. What is the option? Option is, it is convex to input axis, or you can say it is concave to output axis. This is the answer. This is the shape of isoquant in increasing returns. Understood? I will repeat all the time. Understood? Or you want me to repeat the diagrams?
So you can repeat.
Okay. See, this is the best part you can take from this particular chapter, that side by side you draw the diagrams. Okay. So as I said, here we can see this is law of returns. Okay. In law of returns, how we are having, one is this one. This is called increasing returns. And we have another one. Okay. That is called decreasing returns. Now what you do, you take a empty page. Okay. I'll draw here and show. Okay, you can show the chart. Okay. You have to draw factor-product, factor-factor, product-product. Okay. And you draw only for any one of them. Say you draw for decreasing returns. What I will explain you is, in factor-factor you draw for decreasing returns, and in product-product you draw for increasing returns. Why? Because in production economics, we assume that In factor, the MRTS is always negative in practical application. Okay, and in product, MRPT is always positive. Okay, so first we draw this isoquant. This is a shape. Then you, okay, so this is decreasing returns. Done. And here you draw a diagram which is product, that is increasing returns. Now you know decreasing returns is same for both. So draw here. This is decreasing returns. So all diagrams are same, note here. See, here it will change. This is x1, x2. Okay, this is y1, y2. This is combination between two factors. This is combination between two products. So here you got y1, y2 again. Now what is remaining is here. In factor, the increasing returns we draw like this. Why? Because small increase in x1, so much increase in small increase in x1, so much increase in x2. So this is increasing returns. Now coming to factor product. Okay. Oh, sorry. Now you compare only factor product. In factor product, first one you remove constant. Done. Here it will be x, here it will be y. Okay. That is done. Now you have two: increasing return, decreasing return. I told you the clue. If it is facing towards output, then it is increasing returns. If you always focus on output, positive side, then your income will increase. If you always see input wise, then your income will decrease. Understood? Now is it clear? इस थोड़ा डायग्राम ना ऐसा बना दो. Now understood? समझ में आया अभी?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you draw the graphs side by side and paste it on your wall so that you will never get confused. Okay. And again, this one, what I say is the yardstick. If it is MRTS x1, x2, this means change in x2 by change in x1, or it also means MPP x1 by MPP x2. This is equal to inverse price ratio. Here it is x2, inverse price ratio, change in x1 by change in price of x2. Understood? These all formulas are there. Okay. Only you have to understand is that this is replaced resource. You remember, you have seen this song. Okay. You might not have heard the song. In Telugu, there is a song called Rara. That is a ghost song. Rara means come. So ghost will be calling you. So Ra means replaced by added. Another clue is, if you won't sacrifice, you will not gain. So if it is MRTS x1, x2, then first to sacrifice x2, then you can gain x1. Understood? Okay. Now the question will be, when MRTS x1, x2 is greater than the price ratio, what we have to do? See, this is T. Remember this clue. Okay, when technical ratio is more than price ratio, you have to increase added resource. Okay, when marginal rate of technical substitution is more than price ratio, you have to increase added resource. If it is ulta, then replace resource. Okay. Next, if MRPT Y1, Y2 is more than price ratio, then you have to see B is capital here. So if it is the condition, then you have to increase replaced resource. If MRPT is more than price ratio, then you have to go for replaced resource. This is fixed question. Fixed question. Either one of you will be definitely asked. So if you remember this one, then you 2 marks are in your pockets. Only thing you have to concentrate is whether they are telling increasing some product or decreasing some product. I have explained you that if MRTS is more than price ratio, then we can improve the profits by increasing the use of added resource. If they're asking which one should be decreased, then obviously added resource should be increased means what? Replaced resource should be decreased. So remember only one side. Other side you can use common sense and you can derive. Understood this concept? Understood?
Yes, sir.
Because this is the question which is going to come. You are reading all this chapter to answer this one MCQ. Understood? Shall I remove this? Fine. So in factor product, apart from that function, what you have to remember is, okay, these all diagrams are there. You know total product, average product is divided by input level. Marginal product is change in for output by change in input. Elasticity we have dealt in very much depth. Okay. Only thing you have to remember in elasticity is this is percentage change. It is not change in output. It is percentage change in output. Means what? Delta y upon y into 100. Here they are not written 100 because they are cancelling 100. Okay. But actually they should write here 100. They have missed one step. This 100 and this 100 will get cancelled because percentage change. Delta y by y into 100. Okay. And this important formula. This I remember as MA. MA, no? I used to remember and find because of I think my mother's question, this question came when I was attempting my JRF. Okay, so remember MA, MPP by APP. This is the most important graph. Most important graph in economics, not only in this particular production economics, in whole economics, this is important. Now, what we have to remember is certain things. You have to read this graph curve by curve. Okay, the first curve which you will read is MPP curve. MPP curve will increase up to certain point, then it decreases. Okay, MPP curve. Then we have APP curve. APP curve continuously increases till certain point, then it starts declining. But APP curve will never become negative. I will explain you why. Okay. So the point where APP curve, MPP curve is intersecting, at this point APP is maximum. Okay. And MPP is intersecting there. This is the end of stage 1. Now from the point of intersection to the point where MPP becomes 0. That is second stage. Okay. So here elasticity of production is more than 1. Here it's actually less than 1. Okay, changes. This is less than 1. And here, okay, that's written wrong. Okay. Here it is more than 1. Here it is less than 1 and here it is less than 0. Okay, changes. Make change in a book now only. Now what happens? Now you have to read. Okay, before starting PPP, remember, APP always tells you about efficiency of variable resource. And TPP always tells you about the efficiency of physical resource. So wherever APP is increasing, it means variable resources are used efficiently. The rate of substitution is positive. Wherever it is declining, it means there it is negative. For what? variable resource. So tell me, in which stage the technical efficiency of fixed resources is negative? This is fixed resource, okay? Efficiency of fixed resource.
Last.
Yeah, only at this stage, the efficiency of fixed resource is negative. Okay, so make one small diagram. Sorry, one small table. That is efficiency of variable resource, because this is asked question so many times. Efficiency of fixed resource. Okay, this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Here both are increasing. Here both are decreasing. Easiest way, done. Now here you know that in second stage TPP is still increasing. It means what? Here efficiency of fixed resource is still increasing, whereas since here APP is decreasing, here efficiency of variable resource decreasing. This is an important table for MCQ. You can write down the stages. First stage, second stage, and third stage. Efficiency of variable resource, efficiency of fixed resource. Both increases in first stage, both decreases in second stage. Now only question remains what happens in second stage. In second stage, TPP is referring to fixed resource. So here TPP is still increasing. It means efficiency of fixed resource is still increasing. You can see here. So here, since APP is decreasing, efficiency of variable resource is decreasing. Understood? So you see, if you read paragraphs, you may understand, you may not understand. But if you write it one down, then you need not read those paragraphs again and again. Okay? And there are so many things given here. What happens when APP is increasing? What will happen to MPP? If MPP is increased, what will happen to TPP? Don't read all those paragraphs. Just 10 times you see this graph. And whenever question is asked from this graph, immediately within 5 seconds, draw this graph. Draw this graph immediately on your graph. It's on your paper. You need not to know all this. Only if you're understanding that this is MPP, it should come here. Okay, I just drawn that. If you are remembering, then whatever they ask, APP says increasing. For example, what they will do, they will ask what will happen to APP when MPP is decreasing. Okay, many of them will write that APP is decreasing. No, my dear. APP will increase also and it will decrease also. So when MPP is decreasing, APP may increase or decrease. Okay, but when APP will decrease, MPP will always decrease. This is a statement. This statement they'll give 4 different types, and they'll ask you to answer which is the correct one. You will think it is very difficult question because it is so much confusing. No, dear, just to draw the diagram. Every question is easy. Here it is like this. Okay, starting means it is concave to output axis, convex to input axis. This is point of inflection. From here it will become like this. Okay, so you try to make that graph like this, so that you will know that here curvature will change. The another question was this one. The change in curvature happens at point of inflection. This is called as point of congestion or point of satiation. When you read from point of production, it is called point of satiation. When you read this point from input side, it is called congestion. Why? Because after this point, variable resource efficiency will decline like anything. Even fixed resource will decline. So since both resources will decline, here is called the resources are getting congested. Congested, you know, when so many people are there in one small box, they start feeling congested. Okay, that is the word. So this is called point of congestion or point of saturation. And this point where the curvature of TPP changes from convex to concave. That from convex to concave. That point is called point of inflection. Whenever they are telling you the curvature of a curve without specifying the axis, then assume that they are trying to tell with respect to x-axis. This is a common notion. Unless and until they specify you output or y-axis, if they are telling you the if they are trying to read the curvature of an axis, then they are stating with respect to x-axis. Okay. So when I say draw an increasing curve, so you'll draw this. So if I tell what is the curvature, then you have to write convex. If they ask the shape, you have to write convex. If I ask for decreasing returns, you have to write concave. I will not tell x-axis. It's generally understood that it is x-axis until and unless I mention the other one. Understood? Am I clear here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So my teacher has joined the session now, Upasna ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for joining. And before even starting one statement, I want to tell that if today I'm capable of teaching you all, it is just because of the teachings of Upasna ma'am. Okay, she taught me during my BSc final year, and because of which I was able to clear JRF exam. And it was her who gave me clarity of the subject. Okay, so thank you, ma'am, for all your teaching. With this, I will continue. Okay, because even with the points I added you, extra points, that where curvature will change, where it will become convex. See, here you cannot see what is convex and concave. Okay, this looks like a straight line, but it was in madam's paper which she gave for test where I understood. The question was at which point the curvature of TPP will change from convex to concave. The point was inflection point. Then only I came to know that this curvature, looks like a straight line, but actually you have to draw it like, as I said, you have to draw it like, okay, like this. If you draw, you will always remember the curves. Okay, so I have explained all the three stages. Okay, which is the rational stage among all the three?
Second
Second
stage.
stage.
Second stage. Because
Second stage.
in first and in third stage, you can still reorganize the resources. But in second stage, there is no chance for reorganizing the resources. Here it is given. There is no possibility of reorganizing the fixed and variable resources. That is why second stage is called rational stage or optimum stage. Okay. Now, any doubt still here? Any doubt still here?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So now you have the reading two concepts, one from input side, one is from output side. When you see from input side, you have two concepts called marginal value of product, marginal input cost. When you read from output side, the MIC will become MC and MVP will become MR. Okay. Now you read the formula. MVP is what? Change in total value product divided by change in output level. Okay. So you know what is total revenue? Total revenue is delta Y into price. Now this is delta X. You know delta Y by delta X will become MPP. So the change in output into price is total revenue. You have delta X here. We know that delta Y by delta X is MPP. Therefore, it becomes MPP into PQ. Understood? That is this one. So when you are reading MVP, write the formula of MR beside only. It is change in total income by change in physical product. And this one, change in total value of product by change in input level. Similar, there it is output, here it is input. That is the only difference. Similarly, this is change in total input cost by change in input level. Here there is change in input cost by change in product, means output. Okay, that is the difference between MIC and MC, MVP and MR. Understood? So whenever we ask for optimum points, we have to read MC is equal to MR or MIC is equal to MVP. So what is the input level, optimum input level? From input side, if they ask, then you have to write MVP is equal to MIC. Okay, and this point you see, when MIC is more than MVP, it indicates that the profit reduction as more units of input are used. Why? Because cost is more. If cost is more, then obviously you should not input more of inputs. Okay, you should use less of inputs. If MVP or even we see, I'll write it down because that question may come. See, if they are telling MVP is more than MIC or MR is more than MC, this means you have to continue the production. Okay, you have to increase the inputs, you have to increase the production. If you have to increase production here, then in its ulta way, like if it is like this, then you have to decrease the production. Understood? Because see, what is added is more than what is lost. When added is more than lost, we always have profit. Correct? So that is why. That's it. So they may ask this question: what happens when MVP is more than MYC? Then profit reduces as we increase more inputs. That is, we have to reduce the production. Understood? Here you can't write reduce the production because it is input side. So you have to write reduce the use of input. Okay. Similarly, here if it is given MC is more than MR, what you are doing, then you have to say we have to reduce the level of output. See, here it is here. If MC is more than MR, then production of additional output decreases the profit. Okay, that means you have to reduce the output. Understood? See, from these four concepts, these are the questions that is going to come. So underline this one, underline this point, and underline this one. Any one you remember, other thing you can write down. So if MC is more than MR, you have to reduce the output. Understood? This you need not to read. Okay. This all you can do, and this you can use. But I'm still telling you draw that graph and try to link. You try to study all these points from the graph's point of view. Once if you understand that, repeat it 5-6 times. Then you need not to remember any of this because there are so many points. Just remember that graph. Whenever question they will ask in the paper related to the graph, draw the graph and then only answer the question. Because as I said, there will be certain points which at oversight we think that we know it, but when you draw the graph, you will come to know. Like as I said here, if the question comes that what happens to MPP? What happens to APP when MPP is decreasing? We may write that APP will always decrease. No, some MPP already started decreasing even when APP was increasing. Okay. So this small understanding will come to know only by the graph. Right? And you also know that TPP can increase when MPP is decreasing. So all these small relationship you need not remember, just remember the graph. Understood? Do you think this is best way to understand? Okay.
Yes,
So factor, product, all I explained. Only you have to remember is isoquant. In one isoquant, what is this is combination of different outputs which shows a given level of output. If there are so many isoquants, then they are called as isoquant map. Similarly, we have indifference curve and indifference curve map. Now more, if isoquant, you have to see the properties. It is sloping downwards from left to right. It is convex to origin. If the more farther is the isoquant from the origin, what you can say, it is showing higher level of output. Okay. And MRTS, again I repeat this, you always remember, in agriculture, MRTS is always negative and MRPT is always positive. So if you ISO quant will always be like this and PPT will always be like this. Okay, and here decreasing return will be same as it is like this, but increasing returns will be like this. Remember the graphs. Okay, don't forget the graph, because it is the graphs which you have to understand, not the whole stories. Okay, this all I have told. Non-intersecting higher is the, okay, it will not intersect because they are showing one level of input output. If the intersecting means they are trying to show different levels of output, which is not possible. Okay, the MRTS I explained to you. I have told you what will happen if MRTS is more than price ratio and all. Perfect substitute means they are completely interchangeable. This is the diagram. Complement means what? If one input or output is increasing, the other one will also increase. For example, here we are studying complement in factor substitution. So it means that if you are increasing the input, the use of other input will also increase. Understood? You can read here. There are two resources, X1 and X2 complements. If price of X1 increases, the demand for X2 decreases. How? See, price of X1, say what is given here? Price of X1 increases. If price of X1 decreases, quantity demanded for X1 increases or decreases? Decreases. So if Y is also decreasing, or say X2 is also decreasing, then these are complements or substitutes?
Complement.
Yes. So when price of X1 is increasing, if the quantity demanded for X2 is decreasing, then they are complements. That is what explained here. Now, what is perfect complement? Perfect complement is shape will be like this. Means only at one point they can combine, not at every point. Like one tractor can have one driver. If there are two drivers, then tractor will go to the neighboring farm. Okay, means even if you bus, you see if there are two drivers, then the bus will get into accident. Now, fixed proportion combination of input, constant rate of substitution and decreasing rate of substitution. Here you have to focus on these two. They look to be similar, but they both are different. When they say fixed proportion, they are referring to this one, complements. When they are using constant rate of substitution, they are telling about perfect substitutes, this one. And when they are telling decreasing rate of substitution, they are telling about isoquant. Where it is? Decreasing rate of this is decreasing rate of substitution. Okay. In this book, the increasing rate of substitution graph is not given, but I have told you that if there is increasing rate of substitution, the graph will be like this. You can write it down beside all this. Right? Any problems here? ISO cost line. In this, you have to remember different names for it. It is called as ISO outlay line. It's called budget line. It shows what are different combination of inputs. You have to read the definition by graph. This budget line shows different combinations of inputs you can buy with the given level of income. If I have 100 rupees, how much of X2 and how much of X1 I can buy? If I am buying more of X2, then I'll buy less of X1. If I'm buying more of X1, then I have to buy less of X2. Okay. So as you move down, you have to reduce the X2 and you have to increase the X1. That is why you called it as MRTS X1 X2. X2 is replaced, X1 is added. What is the clue? As I said, Ra. Or if you sacrifice, then only you can gain. Okay? Understood? Characteristics of ISO cost lines. Yes, it's not so much. Now you have to remember these things. What is least cost point? The point where ISO quant is tangent to the budget line. Similarly, if you go for product, the graph will be something like this. You join it, okay? Here it will be the point. Why? Because this is decreasing returns and this is increasing returns. This is product. This is called point of least cost, point of least cost. And if you go on adding this, then you get a line called as expansion path. So expansion path is a line which joins locus of points of least cost combination. Don't try to byheart the definition. Try to understand from the graph. Production and farm management. Learn the things through the graph. Okay. Also, after reading the book, you will confuse everything. Now, after seeing the graph, you try to read the definition. Where is the definition? It is a line or curve connecting the points of least cost combination for different levels of output is called expansion path. Why they told different levels of output? Because this shows one level of output, this shows other level of output, and this shows other level of output. So the line joining the points of least cost combination of various levels of output is called expansion path. Understood? Now ridge line. You know what is ridge line? In farm we call ridges and furrows.
Borderline.
Yeah, borderline. It means that they are trying to separate something. Okay, you start from the beginning. If they are trying to separate something, which I have shown you like this, it will be like this. So ridge line is borderline. Good. First thing is understood. Borderline always separates something. What it is trying to separate? It is trying to separate the relationship between the inputs, where it is positive here and negative here. What is the relationship between two inputs? MRTS. So inside the ridge lines, MRTS is positive. Outside the ridge lines, MRTS is negative. Okay. So what is the ridge line? Ridge line shows the maximum output from each input given fixed quantity of other input. Okay, on the ridge line MPP is 0 and inside the ridge line it is positive. Okay, and beyond the ridge line it is negative. Since beyond the ridge line the MRTS is negative, so outside the ridge line it is non-economic relationship because it is not substitutable. Here you see it is given within the ridge line MPP of both input is positive but decreasing. Now what you have to remember is the lower ridge line passes through portion of iso point, the horizontal MRTS is 0. Now this is very favorite question for JRF. Even in ARS they will ask. MRTS is 0. Where MRTS is 0 and where MRTS is infinite. What you have to remember is when they are telling MRTS with this graph, they are trying to write it MRTS x2, x1. This means change in x2 by change in x1. Okay. Now here you see, here when they say that horizontal, it is horizontal here. When it is horizontal here, whether x2 is changing or fixed. x2 is changing or fixed here.
Fixed.
When
Fixed.
x2 is fixed, it is 0. 0 by anything is 0. Now when this is vertical, x1 is changing or fixed? Here in vertical line, I'll draw by red. Here x2 is changing or fixed? x1 is changing or fixed?
X1 is fixed, X2 is changing.
Okay, so anything upon 0 is infinity. So that is why MRTS is infinity at vertical line and it is 0 at horizontal line. Understood? It is 0 at horizontal line. Write it down like this in your book. So any confusion in ridge line or expansion path? Inside MRTS is positive, outside MRTS is negative. At this point MRTS is 0, at this point MRTS is infinity. Anything you want to know more?
Sir, what is the slope of budget line now?
Slope of
Inverse
budget
price
line.
ratio or price ratio?
Okay. See, slope of budget line always shows price ratio. Okay. Inverse price ratio we say when it comes to equilibrium. For example, if you see, why we are telling inverse means we are taking x2 and x1 here. Okay. So if you take the slope, you take slope by tan theta. Tan theta is opposite by adjacent. So if you are deriving demand curve x1 by x2, then slope of demand curve will be x2 by x1. That is why you call inverse price ratio. So the answer for your question, that what is the slope of budget line, is inverse price ratio. Understood why? See, whenever we study slope of something, we try to take tan theta. And the formula for tan theta is opposite by adjacent. So what is opposite? x2. The price of x2. What is adjacent? x1. The price of x1. When you are trying to read demand curve, we are reading from x1 and x2. Because you are reading from x1 and x2, you always say that the slope of budget line is inverse product ratio in PPC, or inverse factor prices in factor combination. Understood? Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So don't try to remember the thing, just to see the logic. Okay. Slope means tan theta. Tan theta means what it will come, like that you remember. Then any other problems? So there we had isoquant, here we had PPC. Isoquant is combination of two inputs at one level of output. PPC is combination of two outputs which can be produced by the given level of input. Just ulta. Okay. This is PPC. It is showing increasing rate of margin rate of product substitution. Okay, you have three relationship, just exactly opposite that of isoquant. Isoquant is convex to origin, PPC is concave to origin. The slope of product positive curve indicate margin rate of product substitution. That will indicate marginal rate of technical substitution. Here change in level of inputs shifts the product possibility curve. Their change in level of outputs shifts the isoquant curve. So write them side by side. Today write PPC and isoquant side by side. Take FF, FP, PP side by side. Do comparative study. Okay. Here we have joint products and complement products. These two never confuse. Joint products is inverse L shape. Complement is only L shape. Okay. Wait a second. Okay. If you see complementary, here it is different. But if you say in other complementary relationship factor, what you get is L shape. So never confuse between this shape and that shape. This is the shape for joint products. Means what? You have to produce this much of Y1 and this much of Y2. You cannot change. For example, if you are having a chicken, then okay, you take sheep. Then if you want to have 15 kg of mutton, then this much of wool will definitely come. If you want more mutton, then that should grow more. When it will grow bigger, there will be more wool. More mutton, there is more size, more wool. So there is fixed amount. Okay, that is called joint product. Complementary means what? Now we are reading completely from product point of view. To understand, increasing use of one product, try to increase in product of other output. Learn from the diagram. When you are increasing the use of Y1, Y2 is also increasing. So till the point B and C, they are complementary. Now here it is competitive. Okay. So use of Y1 when it is increasing, Y2 is also increasing. Therefore, the relationship between Y1 and Y2 is complementary till this part. Understood? Supplementary means what? One is increasing, others is being unaffected. Competitive means when one is increasing, other is decreasing. But if when one is there and then other cannot be there, that is antagonistic. So here you see, supplementary means from A to B and C to D. When they are increasing, the other one is unaffected. But between B and C, it is again competitive. Okay. So most of the people think that this is supplementary. No, this is supplementary. This is competitive. Here also, this is complementary. This is again competitive. Okay. So you should know which portion is competitive, which portion is complementary. MRPT, same which I told before, constant rate of substitution, you will get this line. There also you had same thing, constant rate of substitution. When you are drawing graphs, okay, in objective paper you not draw graph, but your understanding, remember, here it is relationship between two products. There it is relationship between two inputs. Okay. So here you're writing delta y2 by y1. There you are writing delta x2 by delta x1. Okay, those small things you should keep in mind. Increasing returns means it is going on increasing. And I told you, PPC, it's always increasing returns to scale. And decreasing returns to scale is like this. So what you do, you try to write it from top. Y2 by y1, then next delta y2 by, means the same thing which you are having here. Okay. If you write in this direction, then you see that it will be like this. Means that it is decreasing. Okay, that is why it's called decreasing returns of scale. Initially it was so much, then it is less, so less. That is going on lesser and lesser. What is lesser? The lesser amount of y1 you have to the lesser amount of y1 you are getting by sacrificing same unit of y2. This happens because of two things. There are two factors why we always have decreasing returns to scale. Okay, one is each want is satiable. Other thing is always two factors are not perfectly substitutable. Because of these two factors, we always get decreasing rate of factor substitution. I am telling you about factor substitution. Okay, in real life, in product substitution, we always have increasing rate. I am repeating this again and again. They will ask questions from this only. ISO revenue line, compare this with ISO budget line. Okay, same thing. They will show the inverse. They are showing inverse ratio of factor prices. Here it will show inverse ratio of product prices. Farther away it is more is the income. Okay, all those things are same. Here you can see the slope of ISO revenue line is inverse price ratio. See here it is given. Okay. So anything else? This all you remembered. So I'll ask you one question. If you give correct answer, then I think that you understood the concept. Okay. If MRPT X1 X2 is more than price ratio, then you will increase added resource or you will increase replaced resource.
Replace this.
Huh?
Added resource, sir.
Added resource.
Added resource. Added resource. I will die now. I told you this clear now. I told you or not this clear. When MRPT is more, you have to increase replaced resource. That I had told you for MRTS. When MRTS X1 X2 is more than price ratio, that time I had told you go for more added resource. This is for MRTS. This is for MRPT. Write it down. What looks simple may not be simple. If it was so simple, I had not made a code. And if it was so simple, many people would not have, fallen to this trap of this question. Why this question is asked every time? Because I know that at least 50-60% students will do wrong here. Okay. So understand this. I am giving you a clean cheat code to pass this question. I am telling once again. remember one thing, other thing you will remember. Okay. So you remember factor. What is factor? When MRTS X1 X2 is more than price ratio, then you always go for increasing added resource. I'll also give you why it is. See, technical substitution is more than price ratio. Okay, and we know that this is nothing but delta x2 by delta x1 is more than px1 by px2. If you want to make it equal, how we can make it equal? By reducing this. This is more, so you have to reduce this or you have to increase this. We cannot speak about prices because we are speaking only about factor relationship. So if we have to decrease this, then you have to increase it. And what is this? This is RARA. RARA means this is added resource. Understood? See, now I told you clue also, I told you technicality also. Should I repeat it again? Anyone wants me to repeat it again? Oh, it's clear.
RA1 can you repeat, sir?
Yeah?
RA1 can you repeat, sir?
You want me to repeat this or you want to repeat for some other thing?
No, sir, that just now you explained RARA1 that one. Sir.
Okay. See, my dear, when we write MRTS X1, X2, we know that one thing X2 will come here, X1 will come here. We usually, when we get confused, which one is the replaced resource, which one is the added resource. Their code word is RARA. RARA in Telugu means come from. This is song of, I think in Hindi you have this Bhool Bhulaiya song, Bhool Bhulaiya movie. In that she will sing when she becomes ghost. That same song in Kannada is RARA. Okay. So this is replaced resource. This is added resource. Understood? Or if you don't like Kannada and Telugu, if you want to remember. First you should make sacrifice. Then only you can gain. So this is X2 is sacrificed to gain 1 unit of X1. So this is RARA. Okay. One thing. Second, when MRTS X1, X2, that is delta X2 by delta X1 is more than price ratio. What you have to do to increase profits means you have to make this equal. How you will make it equal? By reducing this, because it is more. For example, if it is 8 and if it is 5, if you want to make it equal, you have to reduce this to 5. How you will reduce this? Either you have to decrease X2 or you have to increase X1. What is X1? X1 is added resource. You remember that? X1 is the added resource. Now understood? What you are
Yes,
doing
sir.
in technical substitution, exactly you have to opposite in product substitution. That is why I gave you the code the upper. It means, write it down this time. It means if MRTS is more than price ratio, you have to increase the added resource. If MRPT is more than price ratio, you have to increase replaced resource. In exam, they may ask about decreasing also. When I say you have to increase added resource, the other option is you have to decrease replaced resource. But for remembering all, don't make confusions. Just remember these two. Now, am I clear with this to you?
Yes, sir. Then, sir, that both RARA and one TAPR was for the same thing, sir. No?
Yeah.
You used to explain one thing, sir.
Yeah. RARA, okay, and TAPR Both are
TAPR.
for
Yes, sir.
both are for factor relationship. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
RA,
sir.
but see, this is both for input and output. No, dear. See, even for MRPT, Y1, Y2, when you write delta Y2 by delta Y1, it still remains the same. Y2 is replaced and Y1 is added. Understood?
Yes, sir.
MRPT Y1, Y2 means change in Y2 by change in Y1. How much of Y2 is sacrificed to gain 1 unit of Y1? So whenever you need to write this one, Y1 is replaced, Y2 is added. Y1 is sacrificed, Y2 is added. And if MRS means what? MRS means MRPT only. Whenever they compulsory for factors, they will include T, that is MRTS. If they are not including and if they are writing only this much, then you should make sure that they are writing for product. Okay? When MRPT or when MRS, both are same. When this is more than price ratio, you have to go for increase of replacement. Why? Delta Y2 by delta Y1. If this is more than PY1 by PY2, then what you have to do? You have to increase it by increasing replaced resource. Why? Because in product we always have increasing rate of substitution. See, if you are increasing more products means it is good no for you. Always you try to reduce the use of inputs and produce more of outputs. That is why in factor we use decreasing rate of substitution, that is isoquant will be like this, and in product we use increasing rate of marginal rate of product substitution, that is product will be like this. Okay, I know it is not so simple to understand. I am able to tell you because I wrote for BSc, I read for MSc, again I read for PhD, so I am able to tell you. I know it is very difficult. That is why in micro, macro, and in this farm management agriculture production, you have to revise a lot. And in marketing and finance, there you have to remember a lot. So you have to make like you see there are 6 courses important. In that, marketing, finance. These two you have to remember the facts a lot. Okay. But in macro, micro, and production, okay, which include farm management, here you have concepts so much. Here you have to understand the concepts. Here you cannot rely on the codes or tricks. Okay. Only one code I told you start up because that is working. Because many a times during exam you have only less than say 1 minute. Now you have 120 questions, you have 120 minutes. Now if you keep on thinking about this, you lose 5 to 7 minutes. And there is no guarantee that even after putting 5 to 7 minutes, you'll get right answer. And there's one another boy who's like me sitting there. Within less than 10 seconds, you will get the correct answer and go to next question. Then whether I'm at advantage or not in compared to you, definitely I have advantage. Here 50 seconds plus here you take 5 minutes means 300 seconds. So around 350 seconds, I got advantage on you. That too with correct answer. You may end up with negative marks. I will end up with positive marks. So that is why it's very important to use the course where it is required so that we can save the time. Okay. So now shall we move to farm management part? Ridgeline expansion part, same thing. Okay. So factor product, okay, it's given here, but here they are not given the graph. You try to add the graph. Okay. Try to add the graph in your book. How it will be increasing returns, how it will be for decreasing returns, constant returns, how it will be for joint products, how it will be for complementary products. All those you should know. It has to scale is what? If you increase inputs, If you increase inputs, if output increase is more than increase of input, then you tell it is increasing returns to scale. If increase in output is less than increase in inputs, it is decreasing returns to scale. If you are increasing inputs by 2 units, output is also increasing by 2 units, that is constant returns to scale. One thing you have to remember in constant returns to scale concept is it is a long-term phenomena. So we are studying that what is the change in output when all the inputs change simultaneously. That is beyond here. Simultaneously. Okay, if you are changing only one input with respect to other inputs, then what we call as law of variable proportion. Here it is beyond. This is law of variable proportion. If you are changing all the inputs simultaneously in equal proportion, then that is returns to scale. So 2 points, equal proportion and simultaneously, both you have to do, then you can say returns to scale. Okay. Why it is called law of variable proportion? Because proportion of one input with respect to other inputs goes on varying. Okay. If you see here, you have the graph, you have y, you have x, and it goes on increasing like this. Okay. It means that you are changing one x. So variable input in compared to other fixed inputs, the proportion is factor. It is going on changing. As I said, this is symbol for changing. That is why this law is known as law of variable proportion. This concept is so important that this was even asked for me now in qualifying viva by an external. Okay. Why law of means why this factor product relationship is called as law of variable proportion? Because the ratio of one of the fixed factor, the ratio of variable factor along with other fixed factors goes on changing. That's why. Okay. So production functions are not so important, but only two things. One is linear production function and Cobb-Douglas production function. For that, you need to read only the characteristic features. Okay. Here is your only features you have to read. And that in features, you have to remember one thing. That is this one. Returns to scale can be directly estimated. Means, wait, I will tell you. Okay. I will explain you. Cobb-Douglas production function is mostly used. All the points I will tell you. It is most popular. It is mostly used because it is simple, mathematical, and it applies for agriculture thing. It is in the functional form y is equal to a0, x1 raised to a1, x2 raised to a2. Only thing you have to remember is these are called coefficients of the variable. Okay. If value of these coefficients, when you add them, if it is equal to 1, then it is constant returns to scale. If it is more than 1, then it is increasing returns to scale. If it is less than 1, this is decreasing returns to scale. For example, y is equal to a0, x1 raised to 0.1. Okay, you have to write 0.1, and x2 raised to 0.7. Now this is which returns to scale? Decreasing or increasing or constant?
Decreasing.
Decreasing returns to scale. Why? Because on adding up, we get 0.8, which is less than 1. Only this much you need to understand, nothing else from this whole chapter. But for this, you have the book, which one? Subhash and the book, there also you can read, or only this much you can read. That is enough. Only advantages of Cobb-Douglas production function. Okay. And it is always equal to 1. That is 6 days again. But that much is not important because it is given so much in this book. But some chapters are not relevant for your JRF exam. Okay. For those SRF and yes, this production function is very big unit, or it's itself a unit in the syllabus. So you have to do all production function, characteristic features of all the production function, and you have to read it comparatively. Okay. Now here you take one 5-6 minutes break. Again, we'll join. If anyone have any doubts, can ask.